Hey everyone, welcome to Coming Down. It's Nathan. I'm sitting down with Matthew.
Here I am.
Alright, so we are going to talk about nothing because there is nothing going on this week.
Nope, nothing has happened. We don't know anything about nothing.
It's totally true. We have a really great guest episode this week. It's our third guest episode. It's episode 10.
It's episode 10.
We're double digits now.
We did it.
You know, fanfare for that. That's kind of crazy. I didn't know we would make it this far.
No one did. I mean, who knows if anyone knows that we made it this far?
Right? Yeah, I mean, we actually can't tell. Except people have hit us up.
Well, people are also paying for this, so, you know, like...
Oh, that's true.
Thank you for not giving up on us. We did it.
So, so that's it. So we're just going to jump right into that. Thank you for the people who are paying us for this. Because,
yes.
I mean... I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much.
Clearly, we have not had anything to drink. We are certainly not recording this immediately after doing a podcast. Ignore the man behind the curtain. We're just going to go straight into housekeeping so you can listen to this.
Indeed. Yep, Patreon. So, all the people who are paying for this, hell yeah. You guys are awesome. If you would like to pay for this, if this content right here that you're hearing right here and now,
this is really floating your boat.
If this feels like a thing you'd like to throw $1 or $2 a month at,
get in there. We got a digital hat that you can throw $1 into.
Indeed. And that is patreon.com/comingdownpod.
I don't know why it's not dollarahat.com, but you know, if you can just type Patreon, we appreciate you.
Indeed. But seriously, everyone who's contributing is fucking awesome. And
seriously,
and you're keeping us afloat. You're keeping the lights on, so to speak, and we love it.
The LEDs are definitely on right now.
But we definitely just did a guest episode. We're gonna do another guest episode tomorrow. They're gonna come out eventually.
So many guests. I love it.
But the guests are rolling in, and if you would like to be a guest, just contact us. You can email us. comingdownpod@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter @comingdownpod. We just love to hear any communication from anyone, and several people have hit us up to be on the show, and they're gonna be on. Beyond that, you can just find us on any of the regular old platforms: Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, all of that stuff.
All of it. And it's all on our website, comingdownpod.com.
Yep, comingdownpod.com. Check it out. It's a great website. There's all sorts of show notes. There's all sorts of interesting things going on there. All right, that's it. I've had a few beers.
I haven't. I've had more than a few beers.
I've had enough of trying to do this intro. Enjoy this episode. Guest episode, John Eric, coming up right now.
But it's got a river and a house, right? With some trees.
Absolutely.
That was my fucking house, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty tight.
For 2 years.
I've only been to Bend one time, and is that in a historic part of downtown?
It is, yeah. There's
because those were some really nice houses when we tooled through there.
Right? And somehow my folks needed a house to rent for a couple of years while they built another house. My dad's a builder, and so he flips a new house every few years and lives in it for 2 years so he doesn't have to pay capital gains tax.
That sounds like a smart plan.
Yeah.
You know,
By the same token, I moved 19 times before I was 18.
That's kind of a bitch, though, too, you know? Yeah, hopefully you're packing light.
You know, rentals don't always work out. I actually still have boxes that I packed when I was 10 years old that I just haven't done anything with because it's
time capsules.
Wow, it's literally a time capsule, yeah. You know, but so that was my house, and we used to just fucking, you know, in high school, we just go put the canoe in the river and paddle up to one of the bridges, go jump off the bridge a few times, and swim around and like paddle back.
That's tight, dude. We used to do a lot of like same things. I'm from Spokane, and it's cool because like the Little Spokane River is. I say little. It is a small river, but like it's long as all get, right?
Yeah, it's got some cool rapids in the middle of town and shit.
Well, this one's like the section we were like floating a lot of time. We'd like pretty much up north of like Spokane, wandering into Pine River Park area. Just so happens our grandparents ended up like buying a house in that park, and
cool, man.
The cool deal was, and it wasn't for them because their property was so sloped, you didn't want to just get down to the river from their property, but. What was cool about it was the fact that like it's like the only river I think in America where you can actually own a portion of the river.
Right, because you can't do that in Oregon.
You can't do it like anywhere apparently, but in Spokane, the Little Spokane River, people own like portions of the river. Their property lines extend into the river.
In all over Washington, the Washougal River, like where we like to go swimming in the summertime.
That's where Portland. I just was the other day.
There's huge sections of it that are private property.
Well, like it was cool because like like my grandparents' neighbors, they had like sloping property, like these people did where we were canoeing past and whatnot, and they just like you could go right down into the water. It was awesome, But we'd be floating the river like when we were younger, and we'd put in like I don't know 5-6 miles upriver or whatever. I mean, it's a good day float, You're in there for 4.5 hours or whatever. It's sweet, but fuck man, we'd be coming up on it, and like all of a sudden, like Old Man River, like or a crotchety old lady would just come out of their house, like you kids get out of that damn river, you can't be in this. This is not my river. And blah blah blah. It's like, hey man, just give me like 5 seconds, and I'm floating by, and we're good.
It's
my
like, chunk of the river.
I mean, people were adamant about it. Like they get mad, this. You can't be in there. It's like we're not doing anything.
Like, fuck you. I'm not on your bank. Fucking up your property.
But hey. They own half the river or whatever, on their side. So it's like, fuck, dude,
That's crazy.
It was, dude. It was nutty.
Don't you pee in my river?
Dude, it was crazy. Well, there's a lot of people, obviously, then, too, floating around, just throwing beer cans, bottles, and stuff in the river. I mean, because that's always a thing,
absolutely.
And half the time, we're not even on tubes, we're just sitting there, like, literally floating in the river, wearing some shoes, skimming the rocks, so we're not cutting our feet up, looking out for rebar and shit, It's like, okay, but...
that's how we used to do, man.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Man. It was wild.
Yeah, I lost many pair of shoes, or a single shoe, effectively killing the pair of shoes.
Right.
Floating down the Poudre River in Colorado. So yeah, I know. But yeah. All right, well, we're rolling. It's already going, man.
Oh, so, sweet. So we've been just talking. Yeah, we'll just keep
I like to do a little little soft lead in there.
Right on.
Yeah, right on. Like we're sitting down with John. It's good to have you in town, man. It's good to see you again. Seriously,
really. It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you. Obviously, Matt, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm just really stoked that we can just sit around and kind of bullshit and do our thing.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, do you have anything in mind that you want to launch off with? Any wild stories from your past? that you're not ashamed to tell.
Well, I mean, there's just so much. I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's just kind of like one of those deals. I mean. We were kind of talking about drinking earlier, and I used to have my fill of the booze. There's actually, I can tell, I can start off right here. There's, when I moved down to Portland originally, it was probably about 15 years ago. I was coming from Spokane. My brother and I had a little, $100 move-in special apartment. My life was kind of going nowhere. I wasn't doing anything. I was working all these jobs and whatever,
Yep.
And so I had ended up, I was working at a call center for, Virgin Mobile. Ooh. I'm going to tell you what, though. It was pretty sweet because the fact is, working for Virgin Mobile, that was unscripted. And you could just, as long as you were polite, you could say whatever the hell you wanted to people.
Wow.
And, they didn't care about handling times or anything. And they were just giving you gifts all day long. You just, winning CDs and DVDs and shit. So I really actually kind of dug the job, but it wasn't in line. I wasn't making, hardly any money and whatnot. And then by the time, every day would roll around, hour, 2 hours before I was supposed to get off. They're voluntary time, off time. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm running up, just put my name down. I'm
who wants to go home early? Yeah, I'm out of here.
Exactly, right? So I ended up actually coming down to Portland. My sister was going through the electrical program down here, the union electrical program, and I was thinking about getting in, and something that had been talked about or kicked around. Well, I'd come down once and I interviewed, and this was a little bit previous to this job, I believe, to the Virgin Mobile job. And I came down here and I was wearing this nice crisp suit. I got a haircut, I show up, I'm talking to these people, I do really well on the test, get in for an interview. they just took one look at me. They're like, "Yeah, you're like the nicest dressed guy we've seen all day." I'm like, "Oh, you don't even live in Portland, like, you know, you don't even work in construction, you know?" And you're like, "Dude, what are you doing?" You know? And someone's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, so that wasn't what they were looking for.
Well, you know, apparently not. You know, it's just like you need to. Here, we got some guidelines for you. Like, you know, get a job doing something physical or whatever, and you know, and then. Come and apply again.
They're like, those fingernails look awfully clean.
I mean, dude, you know, I thought, hey, you know, like let's check this out, and apparently I kind of shot the moon on that one.
That's kind of funny.
You followed every advice you've ever received for an interview and failed because
miserably, right? You know, so it's funny. I ended up going back up to Spokane. I quit that job. And don't worry, I'm actually going somewhere with this, right? I quit that job, and I got a job working for my brother's buddies. All worked for this pool company up in Spokane and out in the valley and shit. So it's, you know, kind of a far drive from where I was, but the money was, you know, decent, and it was just like I ended up working in the service department doing vinyl liner installs, and then eventually before I got out of there, I was just doing hot tub deliveries. That was actually a really sweet job.
Yeah,
but cool. Just me and this one dude, we drive all over like northern Idaho into Montana, Washington, just dropping off spas and setting them up for people. And
yeah, all right, that does sound chill.
It was a great gig, dude, you know. But anyways, I was just kind of like, okay, trying to get my ducks in a row so I could get down to Portland, and ended up getting some experience. I went ahead and came down again, applied. They're like, you know, hey, this is looking good, but at the same time, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be moving down here soon, so it's like not going to be a thing. Well, actually, you know, I take that back. That's not quite how it went. The folks were like, all right, you need to get down here. Like, you're dead in Spokane, and we're going to try and help you out a little bit. So, you know, they were going to hook up the gooseneck, bring it up. I was going to load some boxes up and get me down at the area at least, so I'd have a better shot, you know, kind of, you know, continuing my future or whatever. So I guess what this started to entail was like the night before I left.
Yeah.
You know, my buddies, they took me out. My brother, his friends, all these guys I was working with. We go to downtown, and we just start hitting bars. And
wait, this is in Spokane?
This is in Spokane.
Okay.
Yeah, this is downtown Spokane. And you know, we go to the first bar, and I'm just having a good time. You know, I drank a couple of drinks. Somebody gave me a shot or something. I'm like, hey, great, you know. And then we started just kind of hopping a little bit. And and the next thing I know is like I'm just kind of progressively getting like more and more fucked up, you know. It's like I'm just getting
like you do
to the point where it's like no, people are like handing me drinks though.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, you know, what's going on? But I'm just like, hey, at this point I'm just having a great time, and it's gonna be like last night, you know, and all this. And the next thing I know, man, I kind of like, you know, doing one of those half like wake up moments out on the sidewalk. Like I'm sitting there, and on the side of the building, and somebody's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm just like, yeah, I think so. And you know, I was just looking at it, was like, just not, my eyes aren't even open, you know, and they're just like, you know, closed, I guess. And I just hear this woman's voice, you know, she's like, hey, are you okay? You need some help? And I'm like, yeah, I think my friends left me, you know. I don't know what happened. She's like, well, you look like you could use some help. You look like you're pretty drunk. I'm like, yeah, well, here, why don't you just come with me? And I'm just like, well, sweet, okay, you know, like, this sounds good.
Like, the whole night's just been following whatever.
Yeah, you know, I'm just going to say yes to the universe.
This is the next step.
And you know, it's funny because this gal was pretty cool. I don't remember her name, you know, but like that night, at least, you know, I think I hung out with her maybe once or twice more, but that particular night, she got me, like, put me into her car. It's like, hey, you need some food? I'm like, well, yeah, dude, drives me to Sherry's, like, buys me nachos, you know, and like sitting there, it's like sobering me up a little bit, and we're just kind of hanging out. Dude, that just like gets me, like, and then we're like leaving Sherry's, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm still kind of swimming, my head spinning around a little bit, you know, but I'm kind of with it, and I'm just trying to, you know, be polite and not be a complete, like, you know, fall down drunk or whatever, which, hey, what it is.
Yeah.
Well, so like all of a sudden, like, we start walking out, and I was just like, stop, hold on a second. And I just like kind of bend over, and just all of a sudden this is like liquids just hitting the ground, and nachos are like hitting the ground.
No.
Yeah, right. You know, just like, oh, she's like rubbing my back, like, you know, like making sure I'm not like puking on myself, and I was like, dude, this is just pretty amazing.
What a sweetheart.
I know. Yeah. Well, the fact is too, and maybe this could have been a red flag of some type, but I don't know, man. So we get back in the car, and all of a sudden she's like driving me back to my apartment. It's probably like, you know, 10-15 minutes down the road or something, but like we ended up getting back. I was like, somehow was able to tell her like where I lived. And, you know, she's like, I'm about to get out. She's like, no, here, let me help you. She's like, then just starts fucking making out with me. And I'm just like, no. Oh, dude. And I'm just like, wow. Well, I'm all into it. But then I'm thinking about this like the next day, and I was like, wait a minute, I just threw up. Yeah. Well, actually, this chick's making out with me now, though. And I'm probably not going to realize that this even happened, but it's going on. So I just started kissing her, and I'm just like, well, I don't know if she didn't like slip me any gum or anything, and apparently it was just like fixing. Yeah, I thought it was pretty, it was pretty crazy.
Hey man, I probably would have doubled down on it too.
I'm just saying, but like, but I was in no position to like, really be doing anything. I mean, I remember the whiskey dick was going.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Crazy,
So, as an aside, I find this funny that when a dude takes advantage of a too drunk girl, they don't take him out and try and sober him up with some food first.
I know, right? Right? It's just like shenanigans from the get, It's like, like crimes against humanity or whatever. Yeah. But like, no, this gal's just like, yeah, man, we gotta get you some food, we gotta make sure here's some water,
I'm gonna take care of you, boo.
Yeah, at least I have that kind of going on, and so
let's get you ready for what happens next.
Yeah, right?
I need you in a more lucid state for when I take advantage of you.
Well, and so basically, drops me out, like walks me up and gets me into the apartment or something. I end up crashing out, and pass out. She's gone. Like, whatever, I wake up the next day. I like got boxes all over my room and shit, I'm still like just rushing to pack. Got the folks calling me, and just like, hey, we're going to be there in like 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, God, this is bullshit. But I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going. I'm just super hungover. And, but my buddy, my brother and his buddies, they're kind of like, my brother's, he's passed out, but he ends up like kind of half-ass getting up. These guys are all hungover too and whatnot. And but I'm sitting there talking to this dude on the couch. I can't remember if it was my friend Kobe or Danny or somebody was there. And I'm just like, maybe it's Mitch or something. I don't know. Anyways, I'm like, hey, what happened last night, you guys? Like, what happened to me? Oh, dude, you were just drinking and just, I'm just like, well, yeah, I mean, it was like my going away party. What happened? You go, oh, no, dude. We told everybody you were going to Iraq. And so people were just buying me shots and giving me drinks and shit. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
It's your last night on Earth.
So that's what ends up happening. And so it like starts coming together, and I'm like, oh, so that's why I got so fucking hammered, And I ended up out on the street and shit, and you guys just ditched me.
Well, why did they bail on you, though?
They're like, well, the thing was, we don't know what fucking happened to you, man. You just like,
You just wandered off.
You just wandered off, And I'm just like, oh, yeah, dude. Well, I'm sitting right outside the, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was done by that point, though. But yeah, guys, really? If I can I'm moving down to Oregon, and you tell people I'm going to fucking Iraq? What the shit, man?
Oh, man. That's some shenanigans.
You're telling me, dude. Not to take away from anything that anybody did, or like actually did go, but I'm just saying this, like, fuck me.
No, that's like a little fucked up for sure.
Well, okay.
I'm gonna say that, yeah.
On their part.
See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I wasn't claiming it. It's not like I was running around telling people,
And it's fucked up on both sides. Like, it's fucked up for the people who are buying you drinks,
right?
Like, thinking that they're supporting our troops.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's fucked up for you having to be like, oh, okay, fine, I'll get, like, hospitalized, wasted.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it, dude. I mean, I lost count. I mean, but people I didn't even know were just handing me alcohol and be like, here, man, congratulations or good luck, I'm just like, wait a minute, what? This is what? Like,
hope you don't die.
Yeah, I mean, it was creepy, man. And then, so, yeah, I ended up, that was that night, and ended up, like, getting all my stuff boxed up, loaded it all pretty much by myself onto the gooseneck trailer, and I want to say the only like saving grace about that morning was the fact that they had brought like 2 vehicles up, and my mom actually drove. She just let me sit in the Cadillac or whatever. I think she had a Cadillac at the time, and like I just sat there and like drank Gatorade and drove down to Portland. And we probably went to their place. They used to live in Mossy Rock, Washington.
Then you ended up meeting up with this woman again?
Yeah, funny as that sounds.
Okay, yeah. There was I hung out with her again clause.
Well, she started calling me, like somehow she got my number.
You must have traded numbers.
And we ended up like hanging out once, if not twice more. But it was just a really sketchy scenario. Like I said, she was a cool chick, but like there was just something off about her. I mean, she lived with her parents, which wasn't, I mean, I didn't think that was too out of the ordinary or whatever.
How old is she in this scenario?
See, I don't really remember. I mean, we had to have been about the same age, so it was probably she might have been a year or two older than me, so she's probably about 26.
That is strange behavior to pick up just a rando off the side of the bar.
I think she was lonely, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure.
I went over to her place, or her parents' place one night. They were like conveniently out of town, like on some fucking vacation or something. And we just kind of hung out.
Or in the freezer, dude.
Well, And I never looked, man. She had a big dog though too, so you know, I was pretty protective of her and whatnot. And I don't know what the hell was going on.
No, maybe it's just me, like my jaded ass, like being so questioning of, hey, like, why is this person being nice to some rando out the side of the bar? I don't know.
I had thought about it several times.
It's also Spokane, which is about the same size as Fort Collins and Bend. Yep. So I mean, it's also a small town with not that many cool people in it. So,
right. So
maybe she was just like, hey, he looks cool and.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I was putting out a nice guy vibe or something, you know, or hey, this guy's been through the ringer, you know.
I mean, you are super friendly. Like the first time I met you, it was, I mean, immediate friendship because we sat down and played Magic and we had the same deck and we were just like, yes. We played, went and had a beer. It's just like, yep,
let's do this.
We are hanging out.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Like I just, you know, I'm kind of sorry I even got sketched out over the years too. I'm just like, I take off working, you know, that's like a whole other thing. My job just has me like taking off out of town a lot of the time, and so I was almost like I just kind of drop connections with people. But it's nice to be able to just like see somebody again, pick up where we left off, and kind of just keep on going. You know, like
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really, you know, interesting as you get older and your friend groups morph and people fall out and then come back in and stuff. And I used to kind of worry about it, you know, because you grow up having this idea of, you know, my friends are gonna be my friends forever, and turns out your parents are fucking right when they're like, these friends won't be your friends forever.
It happened with almost everybody I knew, dude.
So upsetting too.
And now I'm almost 40, and I'm in my, you know, 4th or 5th friend group, you know, and even had a couple different ones out here, and it's just like, oh no, people just sort of move around and change who they hang out with.
Life happens.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Know, people get in relationships, interests change.
Well, at the end of the day, like, when you really think about it, like, that's the only healthy thing to do. I mean, if we were to force ourselves to like maintain these strict friend groups, like, we'd all fucking hate each other, you know? I mean,
right, like you see families who all hate each other, but they stick together because blood or whatever, you know, and that always kind of blows my mind.
I mean, there's the rarities, you know, like I still know a handful of people here that I went to high school with in Bend that I still talk to, like my roommate, I went to high school with him, you know? But I mean, you know, like I feel like that's the exception that proves the rule, you know?
Sure. And I stay in touch with some folks back in Colorado pretty regularly, but, you know, neither of us make a ton of effort to travel and, like, hang out with each other and stuff. And we don't, you know, talk weekly or whatever. So, yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah, it kind of seems to be 50-50 sometimes. Some people do, some people don't. Sometimes you run into somebody a decade later, you know, and you get like spark it up, and it's like, hey, you know, you get a number and you hang out or whatever. And...
A buddy of mine out here, maybe I should have him on the pod and not tell this story for him. Fuck it. I'll give the short version. If I get him over here, he'll tell the longer version, which is cool. But he was at a party out here and just struck up a conversation with a guy, and they were talking, and turned out they had similar interests and grew up in the same, like, it's like, oh, you grew up in Illinois? Yeah, me too. Oh, what city? Oh, this city. Wait, how old are you? Wait, what school did you go to? Turns out they were not only went to school together in elementary, but they were best friends in 6th grade. But they're so far removed, you know, it's 25 years later, like,
wow,
they didn't even recognize each other.
Time.
And, you know, they had kind of fallen out of friendship around that time. So 25 years later, didn't recognize each other at all. And then both of them, like, sparked at the same moment where they're just like, dude, you know, like, and now they hang out all the time, so they're like,
man.
They're buds again now,
that's
you know,
killer.
Just like swinging it back full circle.
Wow,
yeah. It really is pretty sweet too, especially when you reconnect with people you knew when you were young, like are really young, you know, because it's like you've known them so long, you knew them at that stage in their life, you know, it was a whole different type of experience, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so I've always been keen on that. I was, you know, that kind of reminds me, you telling that story though. I was working. It was like it wasn't like my first job. It was like my third real job, like as an electrician. And I was working in downtown Vancouver, but I was living in St. John's. I lived in St. John's for a number of years. And, you know, I was an apprentice and whatnot. I wasn't thinking much of it. And so we got this new guy comes on the job. It's a new apprentice, you know. And I got to know him and, you know, said hi. We kind of realized that, like, he heard me talking in the lunchroom and whatnot, and kind of liked my personality and shit, you know. And we ended up started just hanging out on the job and just bullshitting, you know, kind of becoming fast friends or whatnot. whatnot. And one day I'm just like, yeah, you know, he's like, man, we gotta hang out sometime. Let's hang out after work sometime. I'm like, oh yeah, dude. I was like, you know, where do you live? You know, and he's like, oh, I live over in St. John's. I'm like, oh no shit, dude. So do I. You know, that sounds great. You know, we're abouts in St. John's. You know, he's like, or he asked me, he's like, where do you live in St. John's? I live on Oswego Street. He's like, really? I live in Oswego Street. I'm like, no way, dude. Come on. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, where, you know, like, what's your address or whatever? Well, turns out, dude, he literally lived 3 houses down.
Shut up.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was just across the street, and then like go 2 houses, and there he is living with his brother and his fiance at the time, you know. And we just became like really good buds. And I haven't actually talked to him for a couple years now. I need to get a hold of him. I think he was out of town last weekend. But I really want to go see him and visit and you know, catch up and stuff too. But it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there you are, you know.
Yeah.
It's
that kind of serendipity shit blows my mind, man.
Well, it's just like those coincidences in life that you somehow, you know, it's just like, dude, this is more. It's got to be like meant to be. You know, we got to like follow through on this a little bit, as opposed like, you know, like when you say when I met you, you know, it's like, wait a minute, we're just like having a great time here.
Yeah.
Well, like let's fucking, you know.
Well, yeah, we bonded over Magic Text, went over to the bar, and then I'll never forget too. They had the Velvet Merlin. On tap. And we both were like, Velvet Merlin, fucking A. And like, you know, ordered up this like 12% beer that is like blacker than black, and just like sat and drank that. Yeah,
dude, I missed a good dark beer for sure.
Yeah, it was funny.
So, on the subject of serendipity, just because I'm probably never going to get another chance to tell this story because it's too short. I'm in LA. I'm living in Topanga Canyon, and I go to this 20,000 person EDM party. We called them raves back then.
Yeah.
In
raves.
San Bernardino. Yeah. And it's at this place called the Orange Show, which is literally blimp hangars. They're fucking huge, right? And they're just packed with people. Mark Farina's in one of them.
Nice.
And like there was a drum and bass one. There was like almost no one, so I'd go over there and dance when I really wanted to fucking get some space. But at one point, I go back to the big house tent because Mark Farina's coming on, and at the beginning of the night, me and my friends had established this meet point where it was like, well, if we get split up and you want to meet up again, just whatever room you're in, just kind of gravitate towards the right front speaker stack, and that's where we'll kind of just end up.
That seems pretty decent.
All right, cool. Yeah. And so I'm at the Mark Farina stage, and I'm like grooving out. You know, this is also the first night that I'm doing MDMA on the Alexander Shulgin schedule, which is every hour and a half.
Jesus.
Just to keep it rolling. You know? And I don't know what time it is because the whole night has become this plateau of amazing shit. And I am deep in this amazing track that Mark Farina is spinning. I'm dancing, and I spin to my left, and the person to my left spins to his right, and I'm staring into my buddy Carl's eyes. Carl lives in Bend. I'm in LA. I haven't talked to Carl in like at least a few months.
Awesome.
I didn't know he was coming to LA, and he is just as high as I am. And we're both just like, oh, what? Oh my god! You know?
Dude, that's so awesome.
Just hugging. You know.
Yeah. Wow. Ah, man, it's so wild how that stuff comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a like 20,000 person show.
Yeah, and in one specific place. And, yeah. I don't know. Really.
Just saying, that's like hard to get more random than that.
Yeah, I mean, the coincidences in this world are just so weird. And this is why people believe in things like God, you know? Because, like, how do you start accounting for things that are even more crazy and more coincidental and more interesting? I mean, you really...
Universal energy draws people together.
Yeah, you start reaching
like,
to...
It does, man. Like, you know, the actual... Like, the idea that your, like, thoughts impact your physical world and can just pull, like, other people to you and, you know, and or away, I guess, you know? It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like there's got to be some truth to something, you know? I don't necessarily believe in God, but I believe in some...
All I'm saying is
greater force we can't measure.
Carl Jung was trying really hard to point his finger at what we're talking about.
Yeah. Cosmic energy, man, in general.
It's difficult to talk about it without using terms that put people's back up because it sounds new agey.
Right.
But it's fucking real.
But we all observe
and we
things.
can all point at it.
And that's it, though. And it's becoming more prevalent, and it's become more prevalent since, I'd say, the 60s, and moving forward as, like, we progress as a civilization and a culture of people,
Is that just a product of greater connection through things like internet and communication, though?
I'd say it's helped.
And,
But it's happening on a spiritual level.
Yeah, sure.
After, like, millennia of oppression?
Right.
Well, and I would just jump on the Terrence McKenna soapbox and say that there's no difference. It's all just one thing that's becoming more and more novel, whether you're talking about human energy or information. Like, it's all just funneling into the same...
Right, and even from a purely raw scientific stance, the fact that the universe is... Well, shit. Have they determined, are we actually coming back together, or is the universe still expanding?
That I don't know, but Stephen Hawking, before he died, was like... fucking multiverse, like multiple worlds theory is legit.
Yeah,
and,
indeed.
We all knew that, right?
Yeah.
But like getting Stephen Hawking on board with it, like,
sure, yeah.
All right.
Now, I was under the impression that, like, from what I last heard, that the universe was still expanding.
That we are still expanding.
Things are still moving away.
As far as I know, that is correct. But I
could not, like,
it's been a while since I checked.
Right, I haven't actually, like, hit the statement up or Googled it or whatever, but I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. As far as I know, there are still objects that we can detect their effect on other objects that we are not able to detect those objects because they are moving away from us faster than the speed of light.
Sure, and they're not within our observable reach or whatever.
Correct.
Well, not to mention just look at the amount of dark space that's out there too.
Right.
Like, and what's being housed in that dark space. Who's to say there's not just like crazy gravity wells of some type. Supermassive black holes.
Right.
In general.
Oh yeah. And that's the other thing. We can't even tell where black holes are until we observe their effect on other things.
Yeah, other bodies. On other planets. But that's something I want to say. I was watching some episode of something or doing something recently. Maybe I read this. I don't remember. Either way, they were like, these scientists were like using some telescope. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but they were measuring like the shifts in light differential, like to see these planets going across stars. So they could actually tell. It's like, oh yeah, we know for a fact there's a planet here, and it's got to be like so many times the size of Jupiter because it's like shading out the sun.
And not just that, they're actually using that similar technology. They're able to almost figure out the composition of the planets.
Right.
Like they've determined certain planets are
terrestrial,
basically just made out of diamonds because of
gaseous,
the way
whatever.
The
way the light that they show, and the spectrum from the the light spectrum.
You guys seen that 3-panel photo from National Geographic that's the fold-out with all the galaxies on it?
No, I've not.
So there's this photo that the Hubble Space Telescope took of the darkest part of the sky.
I have seen that.
It has 3 stars in the image, and you can tell that they're stars because they're the kind of like 4-pointed, like spiky star shape. Everything else is just kind of like this, like globular clusters, spirals, like just little dots.
Yeah.
They're all galaxies.
Yeah.
And there's thousands of them in this image.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
This image is the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length when you're on the surface of the planet.
And it was like it was just a dark spot,
it's the darkest part of the sky.
That's insane.
Visible from the surface.
Yeah, that's so wild.
And it's filled with thousands of galaxies, and that's just what this optical telescope could detect.
Yeah.
When I learned that level of scale, my head broke in half.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, when I was a child, not just astronomy and those types of things used to break my head, but I would kind of get night terrors because of the concept of forever.
Yeah, dude.
Because they teach you about heaven and hell, and they're like, "Oh, this is eternal," and I'm like, "Eternal?
Yeah, that's the
so
only
there's
thing.
No end."
That's the only time that eternity ever fucked with me was when I was thinking about demons putting pokers in my butt.
Well, I was equally scared. I was equally scared of eternal bliss or heaven or whatever it is.
Okay,
but nothing on the other side. Like, it's life, which is short, relatively speaking, and then eternity of whatever this is. That sounds terrifying.
Well, and the fact that a child can figure this out, it's always what's bummed me out about all of the fucking afterlife religions. It's like,
well, I gotta tell you, man, that's a lot of credibility in wanting to believe in reincarnation. That's for sure. You know, it's like, oh wait, you mean it does stop, and then we get to come back and do something else for a while, and it kind of just keeps going. You know, it's like a cyclical.
Well,
motion.
That's the huge appeal to a reincarnation based belief system.
Do over.
Yeah, like there's cycles. That's something I can handle. That's something my brain can compute. Is like a beginning and an end and a cycle. I mean, it's just like this short chunk, and then eternity.
Yeah.
Like
wait. I ruined all of this, and now I get to enjoy what?
Yeah.
No. Hell no.
Or even didn't, but I mean, imagine it's like the THX logo plays and you get the Guam and then Eternal movie. So it's like the THX logo is our life and then the movie is the eternity, and it's just like, well, but that was, I don't know, these don't work together.
The point.
I gotta sit my ass and get pretty sore for, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like I got really on board with Bill Hicks when I was like finishing out the last of my like mental Catholicism. Like I was never a fully committed Catholic, but I was so indoctrinated that like I just had that shit in my head.
Dude, it's hard to overcome, you know what I mean?
And so like in the last gasps of me like surrendering those fucking mistaken beliefs, you know, I'm like, Bill Hicks, fucking dead on, dude. Like the music in hell is gonna be so good. I've been surfing on the lake of fire, hanging 10.
Yep. Bill Hicks is great.
Yep.
So I actually, where are we at here? Oh, right on. This would be perfect. So I think I can tie this all up with basically a similar story to the story he started us with. That is fucking great. It's the perfect time to tell this because it's basically a similar deal. So I was in Denver and we had just played a show, and I will tell that story of that particular show another time. But we had just finished a show. My other bandmates had left. It was just me. I had my car full of gear, and this was also when I was stupidly drank too much and drove, but look, you know, world, I apologize.
Hey, we're still here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're still here, and I didn't hurt anyone, so world, I apologize. But and so we're at the bar, me and my other bandmate, and this very cute girl walks in. And she grabs a stool next to us. She's by herself, grabs a stool next to us, and just starts chatting us up. And we're like, hey, right on. This is cool. And she gets a beer. We hang out for a good while. And then we were like, hey, you want a shot of tequila? We're going to do a shot. And so we buy her a shot. And it was a dive bar. And so they pour buckets full of tequila, you know.
Of course.
Like, naturally.
It was, you know, it wasn't a 1 ounce. Nor was it a 2 ounce. But, yeah, and so we all slam our tequilas, and then she like drinks her tequila, sets the glass down, like falls out of her stool, and the bartender kicks her out. And we're like, that's fair. And so we gather up the last of our effects. We walk outside, and she's, like you were saying, just sitting against the side of the building, you know, one eye open, like is immobile, basically. And we're like, oh hey, you know, like, you need a ride home, or like, can we call you a cab or something? And she's like, I just moved here and I don't know what my address is. Like, I just moved here like 4 days ago. And we were like, okay. And she's like passing out, you know, as she's sitting there. And we're like, okay, so what do we do with this girl? We go, you know, we talk to the bartender. We're like, hey, have you seen this girl in here before? Do you know anything about her? Do you know her name? Like, we don't even know her name. And he's like,
no license, no.
Well,
no purse.
Okay, so we start rifling through her purse because, like, we don't. Okay, well, okay, so
it's a good move. You know?
Well, so
we start heroically rifling
yes,
through her purse.
yes. Trust me, we come out on the good guys at the end of all of this, but but we okay, so we reach like one conclusion. We were like, well, no, okay, so we rifle through her purse. We find her ID. It's her Florida ID.
Sure.
She doesn't have her updated address.
Of course.
We find her phone, and we call the number sister, and her sister answers, and she's like, oh, what the fuck? You know, and it's 2 a.m. in Denver,
course.
so it's 5 a.m. in Florida.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're out here with, we don't know your sister's name, but
like, we're trying to get her home and we need her address, and her sister's like, oh, for fuck's sake, dude. And like, she's like, I don't know her new address, she just moved there like 3 days ago. And we're like, yeah, I know, that's about all we got out of her. And she was just like, okay. And so we were like, all right, well, look, we're gonna stick with her and we'll make sure she gets home. And so she was like, thank you very much and everything. So, and we couldn't find any other like relevant number. We were like, okay, do we just call every number in the phone? But so we didn't do that. Then we were like, okay, we can either take her back to Fort Collins and put her on a couch and drive her home in the morning, or hang out and maybe she sobers up and we try and get her home. And we like weigh the first option. We're like, no. This girl wakes up in another town on a couch she doesn't recognize.
Doesn't
like,
know.
That sounds bad.
That's like the first way for us to just like get in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
So we're like, that's not an option, and like that's also just a horrible experience. So we don't want to put her through that. So we just hang out for
Way
a
to
second.
not kidnap someone.
Yeah, well, right, totally, you know. And we're just like, okay. The weirdest thing is too is that she was fine. She was, you know, or perceptibly fine, takes this shot, and 5 minutes later is just, you know, 0 to 60. So we were just like, what happened? And like,
No food in her stomach.
probably.
Yep.
She probably already had a few and, you know, was right at the edge or whatever. Anyway. So we're like, okay, here's the plan. We know she walked here. She said she just moved here. It's a neighborhood. Well, see, that's the other thing, too.
Yeah, she can't live more than 10 blocks away.
Maybe
right?
if it was a small town... No, I'd never leave a girl on the side of the road. I don't know, but it was on Colfax in Denver, so this is like the sketchiest street in Denver, and we're just like, there's no way like we leave this girl here, and nobody else is willing to help or anything. The bartender won't let her back in, you know.
By the way, that bartender's a little bit of a dick.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah, and this is why Portland's cool with
Like,
their...
you get someone a cab if they're that fucked up, you know?
Yeah, but she... Where were we going to send her?
Yeah, we're no kidding.
Like, we wanted to call her a cab.
Oh, right.
But we didn't know where to send her.
That could also be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, and we considered that.
At least you guys were like trying to do the moral thing here.
Fuck, man. I guess
So-
as a bartender, what I would do in that scenario is probably call Cheers. It really sucks, but like, fuck, dude. At least they'd give her a safe place to stay for the night.
Oh, like Drunk Tank or Detox or something?
Well, but not Drunk Tank. They're like the nice people who, like, you know,
Oh, God. I've never even heard of that.
bundle you up.
They have
Oh,
the
yeah.
weird couch where it's going to be okay for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they might take you to the Drunk Tank. I'm not exactly sure, but
none of these options.
at least it's
sounded
not a
good.
cop.
But this is why Portland's cool with the food law, you know, that they have to serve food
Right.
late so you can at least try and sober someone up.
Right.
Nowhere in Colorado serves food
Oh, God.
at all. Like, sometimes, if at all, but definitely not late. So, anyway.
brutal.
So we finally decide, okay, we're going to put her in the passenger seat, and we're just going to tool around the neighborhood, and I'm going to kind of, like, nudge her and be like, hey, anything looking familiar? And it kind of worked. So we tooled around for about 20 minutes. Finally, she, like, I heard her mumble something about Pennsylvania, and I was like, Pennsylvania's right back there. And so I, like, pull over to, like, Pennsylvania, park the car, I get her out, and she's kind of walking now a little bit. And then all of a sudden she looks up and she's like, that's my house.
Yeah!
I was like, sweet. Oh, sick. And so walk her up to the door. Key works. She walks in. Her new roommate is standing there and just gives me the death stare of like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
But I was just like, okay, she's safe. I'm gone. And then hop in the car, drive home. Holy fuck, though, man. Like, we were in Denver so much longer than we wanted to be after a night of
God.
playing a show and then drinking and
then
like
all the way back to fucking Fort Collins.
Yeah. And
Damn, dude.
all because we were like, hey, this cute chick's like chatting us up. We should buy her a shot. One or both of us might get lucky tonight. And then it was just like, no, that didn't fucking work at all.
Whatever the opposite of lucky is, that's what that is.
Yeah, totally. But, you know, hindsight, it was a funny story. And we also...
Hey, fuck it, man.
Yeah, I mean, we were the
rolled the
drunken
dice.
heroes, kind of.
Yeah, you rolled the dice and you still won, but you had to put in a lot of work.
I mean,
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess it's also our fault for giving her the shot of tequila for us to save her from that, you know, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
know.
like, you bought the ticket and you took the ride, and I respect you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did the right thing, man.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, also, just...
You telling that story just reminded me of like last time I saw someone like barely able to function sitting outside of a bar. Oh man.
Yeah, you did the right thing. Fuck leaving somebody alone like that in Denver. You know?
Definitely, man.
Yeah, that would have been super sketchy.
Yeah.
Like, super sketchy.
Yeah, and it really bothered me that no one else was, you know, I mean, we were the ones talking to her, but the bartender couldn't let her just come in, drink some water, and, like, sober up, let us figure this out. We're on the side of the fucking road.
Yeah, just stop serving her.
Trying to figure the whole thing out.
Fucking hell. Like, let her sit in a booth and drink water until she can walk again, you know?
Yeah, it was whack, dude. But, needless to say, that bar's fucked up and not open anymore.
Yeah,
so.
right.
I don't know how places get away with that. Like, California's like the same way. They just like don't feed you anything, and they just like give you liquor constantly. You know?
Yeah.
Put some cash down on the bar. Like,
and then they're like,
"Oh, drunk.
Yeah.
overserved, out of here,
out of here." Yeah, dude.
That's a great business model. Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Let the cops deal with them on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Well, it is, you know, and this is why like being a bartender is so sketchy too, though, because like. You just don't know, like, because people do go 0 to 60. Like, they seem fine 1 second, and 10 minutes later, they're gonzo, and then it's your responsibility because you served them, you know? And, I mean, that's just so sketch. Like, a friend of mine got a ticket because he was the only bartender on staff at a huge bar that had a patio and, like, corners he couldn't see, and I guess this guy was just rolling around finishing wounded soldiers.
Oh, man.
And to my friend's knowledge, he served him one pitcher. The dude bought one pitcher, but he drank 6-7 other beers throughout the night. Cops found him wandering down the lane, like just walking down the lane of the highway. And all the guy could muster was like, "Oh, I was at this bar." Bring him back there. And they're like, "Did you serve this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, a pitcher." And they're like, "Cool, ticket." And
That's lame.
over serving ticket. Like,
Lame.
it was crazy.
Yeah, that sucks.
This other girl, my local spot, she same deal. Like, this girl walked in, bought one shot of vodka, served it to her. That girl left, hopped in her car, got in a wreck and killed 2 people, and they tried to charge her with manslaughter, the bartender.
Oh yeah, that's here in Oregon too. It's called third-party liability.
Yeah, but it's so crazy because like, but she ended up getting a lawyer and like being okay because on camera it showed she walked in at this time, bought one shot, walked out. So she didn't know. There's no way to know that she didn't walk back into her car, chug a bottle of vodka, and then go get in a wreck. So
Well, I mean, that's just it, though. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know. But I used to drink with this guy, like, and I just finally had to walk away from him. I couldn't be around him anymore. I couldn't drink with him, and I love to drink, you know. But you'd show up at a bar and. I'm just gonna tell this story right quick, too, because I mean, you know, it's like, okay, so this happened like several times, but like the fact that I actually got somebody like to witness the event, or I guess not really witness it either, because this is how it happens. So I'm at the bar, or we're at the bar. I can't even remember what the name of this place was. It's here in Portland. It's like me, the gal I'm seeing at the time, our neighbor, this guy, his girlfriend. There's like a group of us sitting around the table or whatever. Well, this dude, his MO was to like show up, and yeah, he might sit at the table for a second while the first round's being poured, but then all of a sudden he just disappears and takes off. Dude, he's just up at the bar just doing shots. Right?
God.
Just going for it. And like, had I not...
But like not in front of everyone else?
Not in front of anybody else.
Secret drinker.
Yeah, super secret drinker.
Dangerous, man.
Yeah, and well, I mean, dude, and this never, like, without fail, this happened, like, I think it was like the 5th time, and I probably should have stepped away like the 2nd time, you know, this happened, but, you know, it's like, for me, it was normally me who would, like, go to the bathroom or something. Like, somebody would take off. It just happened to be that my girlfriend at the time, she went to the bathroom, so she didn't get to witness this. So this guy's gone, you know, this gal's in the bathroom. We're sitting at the table. The camel guy comes around. He's going to give people smokes, you know, we're pulling out our IDs and whatnot, and it's going to be great. You know, it's like, hey, free cigarettes, you know, this is how we want to roll. So, you know, I think I had gotten a couple packs or something, and then he moved around the table and he got in between this dude's girlfriend and my neighbor, and was just kind of like, you know, just leaned in on him because he was like, you know, grabbing IDs. He was scanning them, you know, and getting smokes out. Well, in the meantime, this guy comes back from the bar. doesn't ask any questions, doesn't say anything, grabs the dude by the collar of the shirt, slams him up against the wall, and throws him on the floor.
No.
I mean, the bouncers were like on him now, now. But I mean, that was like the level of this guy's like just, 0 to 60, dude. He just like take off.
And you guys had just rolled in and like ordered your first round.
We had been there for maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
And
dude's getting in a bar fight
already. I mean, he's getting 86. They're kicking him out. But that's not like I said, that wasn't the first time. And then my girlfriend comes back and she's just like, well, what's happened? What's going on here? And I'm like, oh, well, by the way,
in the 5 minutes you were gone.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened. And I'm just like, what the shit, man? But I mean, the same thing happened. Like we were at this other place, just him and I one night. And we're out and I'm like having a beer. We're like shooting pool or something. And he kind of like scuttles off. The next thing I know, I'm like, well, I gotta go take a leak, so I'm going to the bathroom. I come back out, the place is in pandemonium. Like chaos is ensuing, All of a sudden they've got Aaron and some other guys like pulling some other guy back, and I'm just like, what the shit, man, Maybe I shouldn't have said his name, but anyways, hey, it is what it is.
No last name.
But yeah, right. And and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so I'm getting the story from the bouncer and whatnot. I was like, oh yeah, man, this guy just hauled off and started punching some dude randomly across the face and shit. I'm like, well, yeah, what are you doing? Well, we're kicking him. We're 86 in him. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to finish my beer, And there's like pizza. There's like a Domino's next to the place. And I was hungry, at that point. And we might have been there a little bit, but I mean, not long enough,
still.
But but still, right? And so, he's outside and he's just irate, like punching against the walls and whatnot, And I'm like, well, hey, dude, why don't you just like, I'm gonna get this pizza and let's just eat some pizza. And he's like, fuck this, man, fuck you. And I'm just like, okay, So I'm just like, all right, well, I'm gonna pick up this pie. We're like, I'm walking back to your house. It's 2 blocks this way. I show up. His girlfriend's there. Like, he didn't follow me. Obviously, he's just too busy punching walls and hitting the windows of this bar and shit. I think they were going to call the cops. I mean, they were telling me, the guys come out, I was like, dude, we're calling the cops. I'm just like, well, fuck, dude, he's not listening to me, So I'm like, I'm leaving.
Right, like,
I'm not getting involved in this,
I guess I'm going to have to file this into not my problem.
Right, right. Well, I mean, the sad part was when I like opened the door and I'm sitting there and talking to his lady, and she's like, where's this guy? And I'm just like, yeah, here's what happened, and her head's just like she starts shaking her head. Not again, I'm just like, oh, dude.
Right.
Yeah, they broke up pretty shortly after that.
Well, thank God.
I know, right? I mean, like, you got to get out of this relationship because this is just haggard. But I mean, it didn't really even end there, that night. I mean, like, so I'm sitting on his living room floor, and I'm just like watching. She like throws on a video or something. I'm just like watching. I'm just eating this pizza, and like sobering up. I'm gonna drive home, and dude, all of a sudden he like kicks the front door in. And like just wings his keys at me, dude. And they're like fly like right by my face, And that's about the time where I'm like, all right, I gotta go. It's time. It's time to get out of here. But it was just like, dude, I mean, are you gonna be okay? I hope like anything gonna happen. She's like, no, don't worry. I'll put him to bed. It'll be fine. I'm just like, I don't think this is okay. I don't think this is fine.
The fact that she had normalized that behavior is so chilling to me. Like, oh my
God. We had a conversation and she was just sick of it. I mean, it was going downhill. Obviously, had some issues, and
that's all too common in abusive relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You can only, it's personal, man. It's like,
and the dude's probably chill sober, right?
He was
like
awesome.
Totally chill guy.
Like super funny, super charismatic, like really friendly, just, had a good time, like all the time, but you get a couple drinks in him, man, and he
just falls to pieces.
Oh, just a shit show. Yeah. A shit show.
Yeah, I've got a buddy like that.
Well, hell, I've been that guy from time to time.
We've all taken our turns.
Yeah, but it's not like progressively gone on and on and on.
Actually, that makes me wonder about this friend that I had if he was kind of a secret drinker, because he was the sort of guy that we'd go out, and we'd all be on beer too, and he's sloppy, just slurring, stumbling around. We're just like, what?
Unless he's alcoholic that his liver is dying and he can't process.
I like to say I just drank all my beer and liquor in front of people. Like I didn't hide my addictions. I was just like, let's do this. I
mean, I only hide it if I'm at work, right?
Right.
We're gonna edit that.
Maybe.
No. I always suspected that he just sort of had like a trigger in his brain, that he was so used to being in the state of hammered drunk that as soon as he tasted alcohol, his brain was just like, well, this is where we're going by the end of the night, so let's just start being there. That's That's what I always assumed, but maybe he was
flasking on the side or whatever.
Well,
I don't know.
And then
Or
again,
maybe
too,
pre-funking, nobody knew.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
you guys said you bought that guy.
But I lived with him for a couple months.
Ooh.
Never noticed anything. But again, I don't watch people for shit like that. So
Maybe it's some strange behavioral thing, but my cynical nature tells me that it is not.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, that seems
That's
pretty.
wild.
That's pretty extreme for sure. I mean, I just like I know I've known myself personally. There's just certain liquor that will start doing the talking for me. That I just have to stay away from. Like everybody seems to have their one or two, and some people, it's like different strokes for different folks. But like that gal, you gave her some tequila. Maybe that was a game ender.
One. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody's got their puke trigger for sure.
I drink gin. We're gonna have the best time you've ever had. It's gonna get fucking weird, but it's gonna be great, and I'm probably not gonna remember it, And it only takes like one or two drinks, what I mean? And yet, so it's like that's the reason why I stopped drinking gin. Well, most of the time,
unless it's there and I have no other option.
Well, I mean, dude, so it's like one night we're sitting out at this bar. I'm working out of town, right? And my buddy and I, he's like, we get off work. I don't know, we got off like an hour earlier, so. He's like, all right, let's go hit the bar, dude. I'm like, well, can we go? Let's go home first and change a little bit. He's like, no, let's just hit the bar and have a couple. We got to have a couple. I'm gonna make this one super short. I promise you this. But
No, we're good, man.
I gotta fill in.
I just saw the light on the thing and just had to make sure. I was like, I check periodically and make sure it doesn't stop recording, and then it's
That's
always
legit.
been good, but I check.
I can respect that. But we show up at this bar, and it just so happened. I mean, this is basically turning into like afternoon. We were kind of day drinking, I mean, we got off early, but we just showed up at like 2 or some shit. Maybe it was 3. I don't know.
Yeah.
Early night. We ended up closing the place down. Well, the thing was, we're sitting there, right? And I think we were having a beer, and we were just bullshitting, and we just happened to be looking up at the television, and they were showing episodes of MASH. And of course, you got Hawkeye like sitting in the swamp, with BJ or whatever, dude. And they're just like, the stills there. We start talking about martinis and shit,
like you do.
Like it's just going down, I think I made the comment to him. I was like, yeah, dude, I get like wicked hammered on gin. Well, let's start drinking gin then.
We better do that.
You tell them your trigger, and they're like, "Let's get it."
Oh, he's that. This guy, he's a good friend of mine. Still to this day, I still work with him, on occasion. And dude, that's just him though. He's all about this.
He's the instigator.
You give him the keys, like he's gonna fucking drive you there. You know what I mean?
All right.
And so it's just funny because the bartender just so happens like she was like the owner of this establishment. Like just I could use some experience mixing some drinks too. You guys like, and then so she just starts going to. We're not even paying for these drinks. She just wants the experience of mixing them together and shit. The next thing I know, I'm fucking. They have
beta testers.
Oh, dude. More people are just showing up. We're not going home. Like, I'm just like, okay. I somehow kind of like lost my shit there for a little while. I came back to the next
Call
thing.
that time traveling.
You drank yourself sober? Yeah.
I didn't quite get there yet, but I was just to the point where things were like any rando ideas just starting to sound good.
Yeah.
There's some people, they had this like little dance floor at this place. And I mean, this is like a country bar in the middle of nowhere, Washington,
Right.
But they had a stripper pole like in like the middle of the dance floor.
Man.
And I'm just kind of like this one gal's just been giving me the Google eyes or whatnot, but I was not interested, you know what I mean? Like it was a matter, I was just getting annoyed. And I was sitting there and I was dancing, and she kept kind of like trying to rub them against me. And the whole time, my buddies were rolling, like telling me about this later too. But rolling at the time, I'm sure. She's like, "Oh yeah, John, you just were like not having anything to do with this gal." And I was like, started swinging around the pole, and I just body checked her to the floor. Dude, she kept getting up and like coming up and trying to dance with me. I just like whip her around the pole again, bam, just lay her out, And yeah, man, that's gin, dude. There we go. It was great, but yeah,
Gin might make you dance on a stripper pole.
it was the truth of it, man, for sure.
Oh, man.
That was a good time,
Dude.
It was
awesome.
Haggard, but at least we could walk home. We only lived like 2 blocks away, so it was like
Yeah.
All
right, man. Well, I know you don't drink much these days, but next time you do, you call me.
Oh yeah,
I'll drink some gin with you any day.
Hey,
Yeah, seriously.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Yeah, right on.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
All right, man. Well, I think we'll cap it there.
That's the cherry right
That's
there.
awesome.
That's the cherry on top.
John, it was really good to have you here to chat. We'll do this again sometime.
Hey, Matt,
definitely.
thanks for having me.
yeah,
Dude,
man.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah,
We would love to have you back.
Yeah, anytime. How long are you in town for?
I'm not 100% right now.
Okay.
I'm just, for the foreseeable future, like I said, I'm trying to wait to see if, I'm going back to work here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Or now I might be thinking about taking that trip to Thailand, too.
Yeah,
So, I'm going to have another slew of stories if I end up
I know it's
doing
pronounced
that.
Phuket, but it looks more like fuck it.
Oh, it always looks like fucking. I've been fucking Thai, man, like, for sure.
Sick, dude. Well, maybe we'll get one before you leave, and if not, we'll get some stories when you get back,
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Thanks for listening.
Alrighty.